Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are, wherever you're joining us from out there in the Hooniverse, whatever time zone or time stream you're in. Welcome back to the Spacebook and Type 40 Live for another afternoon for us. Quite a hot afternoon again. You always get the weather report, don't you, when you talk to Brits, because we are a little bit obsessed with the weather. That was the fantastic remixed version of the Type 40 theme tune by Problem Being. Of course, Problem Being created all the music that you hear on Type 40 and Type 40 Live, and we love that theme tune. I was saying to somebody just a few days ago how that is, I don't care who you are and what you're doing and what your preferences are. I love Doctor Who podcasts. There's some great ones out there, and I will make no big claims for our show. Apart from one, we have the very best theme tune of any Doctor Who podcast or vodcast or live stream out there. I trust you'll agree. Yes, so... enough of that. Yes, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks, and this is Type 40 Live for a Tuesday afternoon, a regular catch-up on the goings-on in the Doctor Who universe. Whether it's a slow news week or not, we always find plenty to talk about, don't we? Because I'd say if there's one thing that Doctor Who fans do incessantly, whether there's any Doctor Who around or not, really, it's that we do like to talk about Doctor Who with anybody who will listen. Fortunate for me, I've got a green room full of people who are happy to listen and to speak and to exchange and communicate with me and with you. But before we bring in them, let's see who we have got, because we do have a packed live chat here. We are broadcasting live, as always, to the world's #1 streaming platform over on YouTube and to Facebook too, to the Type 40 Facebook group and the Type 40 Facebook page. So we have a steady stream of people across all platforms here joining us. I do remember, though, if you are over on Facebook, you have to let StreamYard know who you are so we can see your name rather than just Facebook user. We've got an enigmatic Joker here saying hello, all, hello. And Darren M here with greetings and felicitations. Hail, all Spacebookers. Hail to you too, Darren. Good to see you here. No more tongue twisters, please. Ease me in. We've got I smell Whovians, says the legend of the travelling TARDIS. You do indeed. Even 3,000 miles away where you are, he can smell Whovians. That's how good Christian is over there. Lord Thoth says, good morning and afternoon, everybody. Covering all bases, the all-seeing Lord Thoth. Yeah, lots of familiar faces popping in. And yeah, I'm glad I've seen you, Vanessa. Yeah, welcome back, Vanessa. Good to see you. Hope the move went well and you're settling in nicely. We love our regulars too. Richard Brooks is here as well. A good day to you all. Good day to you too, Richard. Good to see you again. Nice to see that when people come once, they do tend to come back. Repeat business, I think that's what they call it. Speaking of business, let's get down to business. Let's talk Doctor Who, shall we? And I've been thinking actually about all my boyhood dreams about being a Time Lord and travelling off in my own TARDIS to go wherever you like, to walk through history or to go out into the stars and have adventures. Because I saw that Jeff Bezos, the head honcho at Amazon, he's going out into space, isn't he, apparently? I don't think he's going to be a Time Lord, but maybe he'll be a Space Lord. He's going out on the first manned space flight from whatever he's doing, the USS Amazon, wherever that's going. I was thinking, my God, I wonder if he was one of those children who looked up at the stars and sort of watched Star Trek or Doctor Who or Star Wars, any of those things. Was he a sci-fi kid? I'd love to know that. And yeah, but Amazon, talking about Amazon, I wonder if any of you saw this. Stephen Moffat over on Instagram. He's an Amazon customer, it seems, like many of us, it's fair to say. And he recently had an email which he shared over onto Instagram. And yeah, I thought it was really, really funny. So this is it. This is what he got. So it's, this is, hello, Stephen Moffat. Based on your recent activity, we thought you might be interested in. So I think we've all had these, haven't we? Yes, and there it is. They've recommended Stephen Moffat, former showrunner and major Doctor Who fan. They've recommended him his own book. So that amused me no end. There, that's the Day of the Doctor tie-in novel. I've not read this one. Have you read this one, Barnaby Jager?
No, I haven't read this one in particular, but I do love Stevie. Stephen Moffat, what a great writer. Brilliant one, that one. But I haven't read any of the still haven't read any of the Target novelizations. But I did enjoy The Day of the Doctor. It was quite a lot of people had different opinions about it, but I really enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it too, to be honest. And I'd love to read this book. I'm definitely going to get it at some point. I've got a couple of these tie-in books. But isn't it spooky how Amazon they work out your preferences, I suppose, based on what you've bought before and your search history and all those kinds of things. I've been having conversations just within kind of a few meters of my phone, and about random things. Next thing I know, I do that thing where I go onto social media and it's showing me adverts for the very things I've talked about with somebody on the phone.
They're tracking us, Dan. They're tracking us, Dan. The vaccinations. They're tracking us with the vaccinations. No, they're not.
Well, it does make you wonder how much they know, doesn't it?
Listening in all the time. Yeah, that's happened to me a few times. I've mentioned I really liked a certain the new adventure books. I was thinking, oh god, I really want to read Strange England one time. And Strange England came up on Amazon. I was like,
really?
Yeah, that can't really be full on conspiracy theory right now. Yeah.
That's quite a deep dive. I've just noticed there Jeff Bezos has got a name check on Stephen Moffat's thing. Yeah, because I do wonder if they are watching us this closely, Ian David Diaz, then surely they would know that Stephen Moffat's probably got that book.
Probably. I'll tell you a little short story. I was in the train station with my niece.
Yeah.
And we were going past Vauxhall, and I said, "Oh yeah, that's the building they shot at MI5 with James Bond." And she went, "That's not real MI5." And I said, "Yes, it's real MI5." And I joked with her. I said, "If you say MI5 into your phone, then they'll stop your phone." And you know what? This is no word of a lie. Her phone crashed.
Oh god.
Her phone crashed. Seriously, this is no word of a lie. I was laughing because I thought she was just mucking me around, but it didn't. I said, what about battery life? And he said, the battery's fine. And when we got to Waterloo, it came back on again. How odd is that? How odd is that?
She now really, really impressed? She now thinks that you don't talk absolute BS after all.
More or less. But that's a true story. It literally went down. Her phone went down. It's crazy, story, right? Absolutely crazy. But they are watching us, I reckon.
You think they are? Watching us? Well, maybe they can only watch so much. Maybe if you're tucked away in your very own bunker or loft, maybe that's why JT spends so much time in the rafters. Hello, my friend. How are we?
Hello, everybody. Hi, Space Bookers.
It's great to see you too, mate. How's your week been?
It's been really good. Thank you very much. Yes, I've been investigating the Blu-rays that we unwrapped last week. So I've been making my way through Series 12. I'm enjoying them. What a difference to see them properly. Those pictures, lovely pictures, nicely cleaned up.
Yeah. So how do you, when you go to Amazon and when you get messages and emails and things from Amazon, how good are they at predicting the kind of things that you like? You know, have they sent you the recommendations? Now you've bought these Blu-rays, have they started to send you the links for the upcoming sets too?
They have, but I delete them immediately because I'm not interested. I know what I want and that's it.
That's told you, Jeff. So this did make me laugh. Stephen Moffat's little exchange there, but yeah, I wonder why
he probably brought it. You know, what he probably brought it.
I'd say he may have a few copies already. What do you think, Simon Horton? What's the weirdest thing that's in your Amazon purchase history? Or is it best not mentioned?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I'm going to have to think about that, Rob. But you see, I'm about the only person I know who doesn't have a smartphone. This is my mobile phone. Very happy with it. Thank you very much. Yeah. No interest in a smartphone.
What is that?
No interest in a smartphone. So nobody's listening to me. I think they have now admitted and proven that your smartphone is listening to you. Apparently, there is a way of turning.
Have they? Oh dear.
But I've absolutely no desire for a smartphone at all. Thank you very much.
I hate to break it to you. I can think of several people who are listening to you. I mean, we always listen to you anyway, because you've always got such invaluable things to impart to us all. And the good people watching out there live over on YouTube and on Facebook, they're definitely listening, hanging on every word, so much so that they've already hit the like button, haven't you? Haven't you? Yes, please hit the like button there and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because we are back and we're back for good, or as good as you can ever be in this old Type 40 that we've got. So yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell in the corner. That's that little bell-shaped icon. Hit that, and you'll know next time we go live. I think they give you a bit of time. I think they give you fair warning when we're about to materialize next.
Do you know, it's a shame, isn't it, that after what you just said, that it's a shame the BBC never listens to us all, isn't it, really?
Simon, what do you think, have you got smart TV, Simon? Have you got
Yeah, I have
smart
got a
TV?
smart TV.
They can listen to you through there, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah, apparently.
no, they absolutely can't. But fortunately, I have sort of done my best to turn off the listening part of the smart TV.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, admittedly, they can at least hear you a bit through the smart TV. But because that's only on a couple of hours in an evening, it's about as good as I'm going to get. Put it like that.
Okay.
This is all getting into X-Files territory, isn't it? All that stuff from the 90s. It's all like, it's hitting us all now. And I'm like, oh my God. Because I read somewhere the other day, that little thing you can get from Amazon, whatever it's called. What's that little round thing?
Alexa.
Whatever. Apparently that can do all sorts.
Yeah.
And there's all these theories around it all. And I'm just thinking, thank God I am not interested in any of this crap.
No.
I'm quite happy being the age I am, and I'm not interested in all this crap.
No. There's no Alexa coming anywhere near my house anytime soon.
Exactly. We're from the blue tack generation, and we're staying there.
They couldn't sell you. They couldn't sell any of you on the smart glasses then that are so that you can order something by blinking. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
What?
No.
I've got one. I've just ordered the next episode of Jodie's Doctor Who. There you go.
You liar!
You
will never buy that. You liar. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's common knowledge that we eat, sleep, and drink Doctor Who, whether we're watching it, listening to it, or reading it, or whatever else. And a lot of the people that we bring in for a good old yarn, they're exactly the same. And I think that no better example can I think of than this gentleman who's been our guest before. He's back again. Heaven knows where he gets his energy from. He's always flitting around across, I think, virtually more often than not over the last year or so. But I think he's quite, usually he's up and down A roads and motorways and things, putting together some pretty sort of big Doctor Who conventions, Doctor Who and Blake 7 conventions. And he's back here. He's going to tell us about his latest one a little later on. But right now, he's just going to join us for a bit of a chat. Ian Kubiak, welcome back to Type 40 Live, mate.
Oh, hello, yes, hello, hi.
Hello.
Whoa, that's loud.
Oh, is that too loud? There we go.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You're over recording.
Just a little. But you can tell the actors, can't you, Barnaby?
Indeed. Is that better? Is that better?
Shoot them all.
Welcome back, Ian. It's good to see
Thank you very much.
You're festooned with your posters again.
Indeed.
Yeah. So what I was wondering, are you like us? I mean, when you have so much involvement with Doctor Who, with the people who have made Doctor Who, do you still find the time to watch Doctor Who? Have you been watching much Doctor Who lately, and what's been your flavour of choice?
Yeah, I do. I get time to watch it. I must admit, I just finally got round to watching the season 10 Blu-ray because I realised that I haven't watched all of the Behind the Sofa extras, and so I watched the last couple of them. It was nice to see them all, trying to comment on stories that they weren't in. But yeah, it was. I must admit that is the first thing I always go to on the Blu-rays, and I'm really excited about the McCoy Blu-ray coming out. What is it, next week or the week after?
Yeah, very soon.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I don't know if you know this, Ian, but Simon doesn't like those behind the sofa things at all. He does not like them at all. But having just bought the Blu-rays, I've watched them, and they're quite hollow. But it's like a commentary with people that weren't there necessarily.
Kind of pointless, really, because they
the fun
weren't there. And even if they are people that were there, they've probably said whatever they're going to say in the audio commentary anyway. So what's the point?
I think we're going to have to, if you could just turn yourself down just a touch more, Ian. We're still having a few problems there. But yeah, I've got a lovely. That's much better, thank you. I've got a lovely picture here which I saw the other day. This is the latest publicity picture.
It's Bonnie.
That's
what
awesome.
is it about Bonnie Langford, Barnaby, that makes us all go, believe it or not, she's in her
I don't
mid-50s
go,
now.
She went to my drama school,
think
so of course everyone goes, she's amazing.
Did she?
Did you meet her at your?
No, I've seen her in a few shows there. I saw her in, I think it was Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, and she was amazing in that. Absolutely brilliant.
Oh, I didn't see that one.
Oh, she was brilliant.
Was it really good?
Still got it.
Did she scream and scream until she went sick?
Not quite. She's.
I hear she's as honourable and as boring as they come.
Oh no!
I heard that she's just been on television as a squirrel or something.
Oh no!
Yeah, what is this? This is the Masked Dancer TV show that our friend Gary Finizer was telling me about. Am I to understand that they got poor Bonnie Langford, Ian, to dress up as a giant rodent or something?
They did, and she was really good, really, really good.
She's as nimble as ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Go look it up online because she was absolutely amazing.
Yay, Bonnie! Woo!
Yeah,
I love the fact that she's so much in the bosom of Doctor Who, and she wasn't in the series for very long, and yet she did make an impact. Whatever you think about what she did then, it certainly made an impact, and people remember that she was in it. And now you see her in photographs like that, Barnaby. It just melts your heart, doesn't it?
Oh well, in Trial, and when she's filling up the entire courtroom with her, and that's the thing when she goes I'm as honourable and as boring as they come. It always gets a little bit of a chuckle out of me when she says that.
Yeah, I love it too. We've got a few comments here. Before the pandemic, I actually found most days I couldn't face the TV show, says our friend Sadako24 watching in the chat. And they preferred listening to Big Finish instead. So I suppose it was all, last year was odd, wasn't it? I think we all handled it in different ways, and sometimes the things that brought us comfort somehow didn't anymore. So anything that kind of got you through that time, I completely understand. Digby Strawbridge says Mrs. Strawbridge and I just watched Frontier in Space and Planet of the Daleks. Great fun. So that's more back to that season 10 set again, isn't it? Who else have we got? More talk about Pertwee. Pertwee's definitely having a revival, I think, lately.
Love Pertwee.
Definitely down to those boxes. So you've been watching classic Doctor Who as well, haven't you, Mr. Mega Geek, this week? What have you been watching?
I've been watching the giant robot. What's his name? Tom's debut. Yeah, 4-parter, and it's really good. As I said, when I was a kid, I didn't realize it was a comparison to King Kong. Do you know what I mean? It was the same thing like King Kong and stuff like that. But you know what? It's so enjoyable watching Tom stuff, and also Tom kept his hat on a lot in this as well, which I love. I don't know about you, JT, but I love his hat. He should wear it more often. Yeah,
well, he did. It went for quite a while. But the brilliant thing about Robot is coming on the back of Spiders.
Yes,
that whole thing there. I mean, I remember this. I was about 5 years old, but I remember the impact Tom had on myself even at that age. And I still remember parts of Robot. I remember the iconic moment where the TARDIS turns up in the Ark in Space and this mad loon with a scarf and a hat. Yeah. Such a difference to Pertwee.
Yes,
and that was the whole point of it, wasn't it? His is a completely different take. And I was like you, I watched it because it's on the season 12 Blu-ray, beautifully tarted up. It looks fantastic. And you sit there watching it in crystal clear quality, just thinking this is just the start of an amazing era. Brilliant television.
But it's funny, isn't it? Because if you look at any of the critics at the time, they were quite critical of Tom's portrayal.
Of course.
And they knocked it. They knocked it quite. Yeah. They were saying this guy will never catch on. He'll never be. He's not as good as Pertwee. Exactly. And you look at it now, and he's clearly the most popular. Well, certainly the most popular classic Doctor. I would still argue he's the most popular Doctor, full stop, throughout the whole run.
Benton got promoted, didn't he? Benton. He got promoted.
Had this been the first time you'd seen that story in a while, Ian?
Yeah, well, a long time. I saw it when I was in my teens, I think, or actually, no, it wasn't. I was younger. But I when I saw it, I really loved it as a kid because I love robots and stuff like that. I thought his hands were a bit rubbish, though, weren't they? He just had those little claws. Stuff like that.
Shambling beeping thing, yeah.
But it's a great first one for Tom, and Tom really does chew the scenery and. He comes across as a very different Doctor to John. I love John, obviously, but Tom is the Roger Moore. What Roger Moore was to James Bond, Tom was to Doctor Who.
I suppose he was. Yeah.
Yes,
we've got a good question here about those Blu-ray sets here from Daniel Leach watching in the chat, and he says this is a good one. Goes back to what you were saying a moment ago. Why is Janet Fielding on all the behind the sofas, commenting on a lot of the stories she's not in? Makes no sense. A lot of people feel that way.
I'll tell you why
but it is seen as a USP.
Because she's cheap.
Well,
She's
and
cheap.
the other reason she's there is
Sorry, Janet.
she gives this. So whereas the other ones are all sitting there going, yeah, it's great, this is. Janet will absolutely go for it. She'll give you good value for money. So that's why they bring her in.
She's the JT off the sofa. That's what she is.
Oh, well.
that conversation may carry on later on. I was wondering about you, Ian Kubiak, because obviously you book these good people for your various events, don't you? You know a fair few of them, professionally or personally. So when you're booking them for your conventions, you sometimes they're on their own, but sometimes you put them together with other people, don't you? So are you aware of the chemistry that they may have with other individuals, like sort of depending on the topic that you may want to address? Is that sort of, are you ever playful with that, knowing the kind of response you may get from them?
Yeah, I think so. I think you've got to be mindful of not putting, maybe people who don't necessarily get on. I mean, you wouldn't put Colin Baker and Eric Saywood on a panel together, would you?
Oh, you would. Oh, you should.
But happy birthday to Colin as well today. It's his birthday.
Yes,
yes, happy birthday, Colin.
So
I think because the guests in majority they all get on. And the same with Blake 7 events as well. You put them all together and because they're actors and when they're on stage giving their anecdotes, it's a performance. They're there to give entertaining. Janet's really great. Fraser Hines goes for the sort of old dad jokes type things, and so
bit like me, everybody.
I think. For me personally, I always try to bring people together that have a connection. So, for example, I like to bring a load of directors together. So I once brought all the Saywood was the Chibnall of his day. Ooh,
totally disagree. Saywood could write.
That's an insult to Saywood, I'm afraid.
Indeed. I last year I brought together Terry Malloy and all of his directors from the 80s, and that was the first time that had ever been done. So that was quite unique, and I'm always looking to sort of bring people together where they can approach the subject matter from the same angle, so to speak. So
where they may nudge each other's memories a little. And not fall back on the same stories, which, God bless them. Some of them have been going to conventions for several years. You could forgive them, couldn't you, for, for maybe having some of the anecdotes off pat.
Or that they've heard someone else's anecdote and it becomes theirs.
That'd be like stealing gags, wouldn't it? That'd be like somebody stealing gags, like in stand-up comedy, I think, Barnaby. It'd be a major faux pas.
Full on Carlos Mencia, yes.
You've been watching some classic Doctor Who this week as well, haven't you, Barnaby? What have you been doing? Which flavour have you gone for?
I was watching The Visitation a couple of nights ago, and it was fantastic. I love the character of Richard, the highwayman, because he's pretty much me right now. He's an out-of-work actor, and there is plague all around, except this plague is called coronavirus. And he speaks with a very, very particular accent. I'm thinking of becoming a highwayman myself, sir. There's everywhere, sir. He's got the most amazing voice, so I'm just watching him the majority of the time. Marvelous. But it's a brilliant plot. I really like the plot. And also I remember as a kid watching it for the first time, being really loving, the Pudding Lane reference, and because I was watching my brother and he had no idea, he didn't get the reference. I was like, I feel very clever for getting Great Fire of London, and a brilliant little story, all really well put together, and still holds up.
Written by Eric Saywood.
Yes,
great,
indeed.
Eric Saywood.
It's a big favourite of mine too. I really latched onto that whole time. It's just at the right time for me.
Absolutely.
And that story, it's one of my favourites. I know it tends to be a bit of a middling one with people, but I think it's got a bit of everything. That thing that you mentioned quite a lot, JT, of the Doctor walking through history, and yet it's got the sci-fi elements in there too. That's why I like it so much. Everything that I love about Doctor Who is in that story. But going back to what you were saying about Robot there, Ian, it's reminded me of this brand new. This is out this week. This is from Marvel. Marvel? No, it's not Marvel. It's from Panini. This is
showing your age
Doctor
there.
Who Chronicles. That's shocking, isn't it? Doctor Who Chronicles for 1975 gets released this week, everybody. And this is the second of these bookazines, that's what they call them, isn't it? And the idea is that they examine the landmark years of Doctor Who history in unprecedented detail. Just reading this from the blurb. Since 1975 was Tom Baker's first full year as the Doctor, and it features Robot, Ark in Space, all those wonderful stories that made up that season. And this bookazine includes rare images and all new features. So they're not just sort of bringing things out of the archive from past issues of DWM, and there's going to be that summary of the most significant events in the Who calendar that happened in 75, just as was the case with that last special. That was 1965, the last one, wasn't it, Simon?
Yeah, it was 65, and I don't doubt that they're basically going to do every single year for these now. Eventually, they'll come out. You know, they've got to keep on flogging stuff, haven't they, Panini? And so I don't doubt that they'll. But I've got it on order. It looks good. The 1965 one was good. This is my idea of Doctor Who magazine. I no longer buy the regular monthly magazine because it's just utter. Well, I won't say, but anyway, I don't buy the monthly magazine anymore. But this is kind of what I think the monthly magazine should be, because I am interested to read. Remarkably, I'm not actually that interested to read what Joy Wilkinson had for breakfast that you might find in the main magazine. But give me some stuff about 1975, and you can count me in.
It's sold. The last one did sell really, really well, and obviously, Ian, with your recent sort of dip into the past as well, they might have some tips there about all the design choices and the special effects choices that they may make in Robot.
I, as I said, I laugh when I watch Robot. I didn't watch it on the Blu-ray because I know JT's got the Blu-ray and stuff. I watched it. My friend had VHSs, so it was literally recorded off the BBC. So I watched the 4 parts. That was like, the BBC, now on BBC One. Whoa. That kind of thing, and it just transformed me back to being a kid again, And we were laughing at the visual effects, obviously, because the visual effects are really funny, and it's just a great entertaining thing. Doctor Who is part of my heart. Do you know what I mean? I think it's here somewhere. Actually, it might be this one too.
Underneath the Ghostbuster.
Two of them. But Tom Baker is my favorite, and John from classic Who. And you know what? As I said, if you guys ever get the chance to watch Robot again, it's such a joy from start to finish. Really, it's such a joy.
It's funny.
Sorry, Barnaby.
Oh, sorry. No, it's funny as well. It still has one of my favorite jokes from that whole series where he's talking to the Brigadier and they're saying, and of course, these secret plans, the only country with any, of course, the only country that could look after them was Great Britain. And the doctor goes, well, yes, of course. I mean, the rest are all foreigners. And he's like, well, it was so well done. And I'm just like, I'd never noticed that in my first run through. I was like, that's really funny.
The other brilliant thing about Robot is it shows you how a regeneration story should be done. None of this faffing around for hours and hours going, who am I? Get over it. Just move in and get on with the story. And the way that Terence wrote Robot to deal with that and the way that Tom plays it is slightly erratic for Tom as he moves in, as it were. But it's not overplayed. It's not overwritten. It's just, this is how it is. I love all that.
The only thing that spoilt it for me, though, the Robot thing, is the bit where he's going into the TARDIS and changing different costumes. I thought that was kind of out of place, really, with Doctor Who. But, it is what it is, right?
They did it again in 1987 with Time and the Rani, the exact same sequence, just inside the alleged wardrobe room. It wasn't. It was a few black drapes because they couldn't afford any money. But and also similar thing in Colin Baker, in the Twin Dilemma. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, it's a brilliant 4-part.
Great story,
Brilliant as far as I'm concerned.
For my sins, I've also been watching some classic Doctor Who this last week. I've been watching Colony in Space from season 8. And boy, that's heavy going.
Why exactly?
It's
an uphill battle.
I'm working through an order, so Colony in Space is next, but boy, it is really heavy going.
It really is. Totally agree.
It's got to be one of the dullest classic stories of all time, and it's not helped by the locations, which is just dull. Everything about it's just grey and dull.
How How many episodes is it, Simon? It's like 12.
6.
It felt like 12. 6.
It feels like about 243 episodes. It just goes on and on. It's terrible.
I've never liked that one either. And to be honest, I struggle with a lot of the 6-part Pertwee ones, and I always have. And yet sometimes on a rainy afternoon, I don't know if you have this as well in Kubiak. I sometimes if I put one of these stories on a rainy afternoon where I'm not really sure what I fancy watching, there's something about that title sequence kicking in, and even a story where I think I don't like it, or I think I know it inside out. Sometimes, if I'm in a different frame of mind, it can be like seeing it again for the first time.
I think you're right. I think we all have our sort of favourites, don't we? I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've watched The Five Doctors, for example.
I love The Five Doctors.
Yeah.
You know, I can remember as a kid, I could quote it. I probably still could quote it word for word. You know, and you know, it's just one of those stories you could put on, and you'll have it on in the background to begin with, because you might be on your phone or whatever, and then suddenly you start watching it, and then you go, but which version am I going to watch though? Do I watch the originally transmitted version? Do I watch the VHS? Do I watch the special edition? I will be really interested to see what happens when they do season 20 on Blu-ray. And what version we have. I mean, the last version to come out with all that behind the scenes footage of all the actors playing the Doctors coming together was beautiful. That the outtakes and the interaction between Pertwee and Troughton and the way they were treating Herndon, and Herndon was really struggling, which doesn't come across in the performance, but with the edits that eventually went into the show, you know it. You know, I could just watch it over and over again.
Great.
I think the way they're going with the box sets is you'll get every version going there.
Yeah,
you get the original version, obviously, and then you'll get the alternative version and the special effects version.
Yeah.
Because there were 3, weren't there? I think maybe 4. I reckon they'll pack everything on it.
But the Black Triangle time scoop is the best version.
Yeah,
I'm not
the Mr. Whippy ice cream version.
Well, I'm not against them going back and doing better effects for that. I'm not against them. I love it when they do that. You know, the John Pertwee box set that I got, the effects they corrected in that. I love it. I think it's much better when they correct the effects, in my opinion. So
you got Series 8, didn't you, Ian?
Yes.
Terror of the Autons in that season 8 box set. The computer effects in Terror of the Autons are absolutely fantastic, and the way they've cleaned the CSO.
Yeah, they have. Yeah.
I would really hope with the Five Doctors that they'll do a new edit of the Five Doctors. Mm-hmm. That's what I would like to see, with some new, replacing the original special effects with good CGI and getting rid. You're right, Ian. Get rid of the ice cream cone. It's awful. I don't know what they were thinking, and do a proper black obelisk with computer graphics. That's what you need to see. So that's what I think they'll do. But I think JT's also right. They'll put every version going on there.
But also, right, the Five Doctors, right? I love it so much. You know what? Because every Doctor gets their time in the sun. I mean, the 50th was okay, right? And they put them together and stuff like that. But the thing that spoils both of them is Tom wasn't in the Five Doctors, and obviously Chris wasn't in the 50th. Those things spoil it. But I would actually say that the 50th is so much better than the one with Matt and David. Personally, I think. But anyway, that's just me, right? So
every time I think about,
I agree.
Oh, sorry.
I was just gonna say, it looks like that Dan, you're in the garden where the first Doctor was taken out of time in the Five Doctors.
Absolutely.
Just be careful, Dan. There's a black triangle. No, it's a Mr. Whippy ice cream.
It's coming for me, everybody. I keep dodging and ducking. So just if I do suddenly dive on the floor, then it's because it's sort of whizzing overhead at low altitude.
Don't forget to throw your handbag as you fall over.
And if you see it before I do, everybody in the chat, please shout out. And if I can get the message on screen in time, then it won't grab me.
It's Panto season.
Yes. Great balls of fire.
This is it. Everything about the Five Doctors. Everything about the Five Doctors makes me feel like a kid again.
Yeah.
And speaking of feeling like a kid again, this is something that's been sent to us by our good
Yay!
friend out there on
Yes.
YouTube. This has been sent over by the Rabbi from Another Planet, Sfila Betkin, over on his fantastic YouTube channel. He's had these images come through of some brand new toys, pretty bits of plastic, everybody, derived from the classic show. So yeah, this is character options, of course it is. They fill up your local B&M with all these different sets, don't they, from the history of Doctor Who, and the latest too. We've got some Sensorites. We've got a William Hartnell Doctor, not a Richard Herndl Doctor, crucially. So we've got the William Hartnell Doctor. And we've got those 2 beautiful Daleks that make up a 7th History of the Daleks set. This is one of those ranges that I am now kicking myself, everybody, for not getting on board with this History of the Daleks. They just look beautiful. It's like a partwork in plastic form, I think, JT. What do you make of these? Do you collect all these? Because I know that you love a figure.
I do love a figure.
All the legends are true. Yes.
Yes, yes, they are. Yeah, I do collect them. I've collected the character options figures since they started appearing in late 2005, early 2006, and the latest ones for the B&M exclusive range are no exception for me. The History of the Daleks ones are interesting because that box says it's number 7, where we've actually only had 4 out so far, so that's very, very interesting. For collectors who bought the original 13th Doctor's figure set, because that first Doctor is a variant of that was in that 13th Doctor set. That's quite nice for anybody that couldn't get the 13th Doctor's box set whenever that was released a few years back.
Yeah.
Ages ago now. So we've got that coming out. But the figures look good. The History of the Dalek ones as well are nice, and for character options, easy money, because all they have to do is resculpt or re-release or pop them in a box. But I'm excited about those, and I'm interested to see what else they're bringing out, because there is another Dalek box set to go with it. There's another TARDIS box set to go with it, and I think another as yet unknown figures set to go with it. But I do know that they're all due around about July.
I saw a rumor yesterday on a YouTube channel that apparently, according to this person on YouTube, because everything's true on YouTube and on the internet, as you all know, it's going to be a 5 Doctors box set for the 5 Doctors, and they're going to have a Herndl. And they're going to have a second, the 5 Doctors version of Troughton, and Pertwee's costume from the 5 Doctors. I love that costume, and they're going to have that version of Pertwee, and they won't have a Tom. Oh no! Tom's figure, it won't be made of plastic; it'll be made of wax.
I've heard that rumor before. I heard that rumor last year, and I still think that is a rumor. But I love the speculation, because there was also a rumor they were going to bring out the 5th Doctor Companions range, which would at last bring out Adric, Nyssa, and Tegan as part of the character options range. But I think they're more likely to go for some more monsters this time around, because we haven't had them yet, and the sculpts are cheaper to produce. But I'm looking forward to just getting them, and I think that the idea of a Sensorite set is genius. Who saw that one coming?
I wanted to ask you, JT, as somebody who does collect these, because I'm thinking about getting on board, but I'm never really sure when a new set is coming. So is there rhyme and reason to this release schedule? How frequently do sets come out? Is it there just isn't?
Well, no, there isn't now. There was last year, because what the characters tend to do is they drop a video to say, this is what we're doing, or they drop a press release to say this is what's coming out. The rumor was last year, and we mentioned it on this show actually last year, is that there were more sets due this year. We got so many last year. The rumor was it was going to be reproduced this year. It hasn't. We didn't get a February release. We haven't had anything yet at all. So there is no rhyme or reason. It just depends on when the business need to do it. But it's exciting when they do start to come, and you just have to watch the reputable pages, which will be things like Character's own website. Or even the Type 40 Spacebook on Facebook, because we'll put that information out there as well.
We do try and keep on top of it, but I was thinking, because the price of these sets, it can mount up. They're around £10 each, aren't they? £10-12, and so when 3 or 4 of them come out at once, particularly for some of the younger ones, because they're generally it is. I think it probably is generally adults that pick these up, but obviously for people who are on a budget, maybe too.
Well, they are.
It helps knowing when to expect them.
They could be expected. They are actually $19.99 each on release. They can possibly go down to $12.99 in any sales later on with B&M, but the recommended retail price is $19.99, or I think the TARDIS was $29.99 because you get the police box variant and then you get the Doctor to go with it. And again, the rumor there was a Colin Baker one coming and a Sylvester McCoy one coming with their TARDIS. So again, it's exciting to see what will come, but it's just nice to get them, especially at this time when there's not much merchandise or quality merchandise around because the main show is flagging and it's nobody cares. And then you've got all this lovely stuff to celebrate the classics. They're tying in an awful lot with the Blu-rays coming through. So it's like a renaissance really for the original proper Doctors as well, isn't it? Really celebrating all this stuff. It's nice.
Yeah, to see how I mean, you talked there about the Five Doctors set, Ian, and to be honest, I will not be able to resist that. No matter what's in it, I'm sure that I've seen. Now you've mentioned that one, I'm sure that I have seen some sort of prototype for a Richard Hurndall, a specific Richard Hurndall figure in the past. But sometimes these things, they turn up on social media, don't they, or on somebody's YouTube channel, and just as a concept, and then they may disappear again for another few years. It's the same with Star Wars figures. I think it's an industry thing.
Yeah, as long as if the Five Doctors box set does come out, it comes with a black triangle. It's all good.
I mean, they've had I'm sure we've all seen the prototypes for years ago for the character options Yeti, which was never released, and of course the second Doctor from the Five Doctors, which was the Doctor in his fur coat. It's a beautiful sculpt, but it's never seen the light of day. And there's so much they can do with these figures. But I'm just glad that character options are churning these things out just to keep themselves going, and long may it continue.
Good on them. Staying with Daleks for the time being, everybody, but bang up to date. Yes, Doctor Who apparently is filming at the moment somewhere in the Cardiff Penarth area, and we have this picture of a monster.
Not another bum shot.
What could that be?
Yes,
Another bum shot.
The recurring theme on Type 40 Live, like if Peter builders bums. No, that's his belt this time, Ian.
I think they're doing it deliberately now to get exposure, you know.
Literally, yeah, it'll get over tagline there. No, that is apparently his belt. We are safe, but yeah, this is a Dalek being loaded off a truck by some masked individuals. I think John Bishop's given them a hand there, but the Daleks are back for Series 13. They must be getting towards the end of
design.
The
Dan, it looks like a classic design.
Dalek. No, that's the usual RTD bronze Dalek.
Oh, is it?
They've brought it back. But I did wonder, because obviously they've got his two appendages all wrapped up there in bubble wrap. Maybe we'll get some sort of new variant, because that does look rather thick. But then again, it's hard to say.
Just like Chibnall, rather thick.
But I was wondering, is anybody surprised to see the Daleks back? Because people have contacted me. In fact, Queen Charlotte, who's watching in the chat now, she contacted me and said, Dan, the Daleks are back. Are you excited? And quite honestly, it's, even though I love the Daleks, as we've just been talking about, I couldn't muster up any enthusiasm. And, I'm struggling, It's common knowledge, I think, out there. Anybody who follows the show, that I'm struggling with everything that's going on with TV Doctor Who at the moment. But yeah, I'm very cynical about Daleks, and I think, well, is there any way that they can innovate, just bringing them back year after year after year for basic runaround adventures? And falling back on that classic design, the golden design there, Ian, as you said, because they've tried. Stephen Moffat tried as well, didn't he, to break the mold and to push the Daleks onto the next level.
He did it well.
And he was successful to some extent, but he ultimately fell back. Chris Chibnall recently tried to innovate as well too, and from watching that last special, I think he also fell back on the classic design. So yeah, I kind of like to.
Sorry, Chibnall's version of the Daleks looked like dustbins. They really do.
They did a little bit.
Crazy, yeah.
And both of those designs, though, both Moffat's in 2010 and the ones that Chibnall brought through a couple of years ago, they've both, I think, in Kubiak, they've altered the silhouette of the Daleks. When they do that, I think there's a more sensitive redesign.
But you've got to think, it's also, it gets people talking. It gets people talking about the Daleks. Well, back in the time when there was a new design Dalek, it's like, oh my god, what have they done to the Daleks? So it generates that publicity. any publicity for the show is publicity, be it good or bad publicity.
I'm not entirely convinced that it does get people talking more.
I'm not
we're
convinced
all
either.
Doctor Who fans. Hands up who has already seen that photo. I hadn't seen it before today. It clearly isn't doing the rounds very much. And to be perfectly honest, the general public really couldn't give two stuffs. So I actually don't think it does get people talking. I just don't think people are really very interested anymore.
I think I'd feel better.
I think I'd feel better about it. 5, 6, 7 years ago it would have. But not
yes, you're right.
Yeah,
yes.
That's what I meant. Not necessarily now.
No,
well, that's when the show was popular five or 6 years ago. You know, I mean, up until 2017, it was actually popular. The problem you've got with modern Who is they've churned the Daleks out every single year, probably due to contractual reasons. But going back to 2004, and that's something we will learn about one day, but not just yet. But they have churned it out every single year, and that takes away the element of the power of the Daleks, really, no pun intended. I mean, if you go back to the original series, there was a huge space between Dalek stories eventually. I mean, look, we didn't get anything really with 2 stories in Tom's time in a 7-year tenure. One for Davison, one for Colin, one for McCoy. And it's a shame that they've become familiar now. They've become part of the woodwork in a way that nobody's interested anymore. Oh, it's the Daleks are back. Oh,
and
but, you know, concentrate on bringing the show back properly. That's what I would say to them.
I didn't bring that up as a way of sort of not necessarily knocking Chris Chibnall, because I think it's a broader broader issue with the show that I think the last really memorable creature that dug itself deep with both the fandom and the public was probably the Weeping Angels, and that's been some time ago. I think the Silence came close because they were so stark, Barnaby. They were so solemn and stark. But I'm really struggling to really be able to sort of land on anybody since anything that sort of got people talking in the same way since, and that's been a long time now too. So whilst the Daleks, you know, we've just built and cooed over plastic Daleks, but yeah, you're right, Simon. I mean, this picture is not doing the rounds the way that on-set photographs would have done a few years ago, and I think, well, if it was a Cyberman or a Zygon or whatever else, would it be any different? Maybe a little, because I think but JT, we kind of expect with this show that the Daleks will be back every year, whether there's something interesting to do with them or not. And I think that's a shame. It ties into what you were saying about the 80s and the 70s. They brought them back when they'd got a good story to tell, when they got something they genuinely wanted to do with the characters.
But then again, you know, we've had the word now that the Weeping Angels are in this alleged new series, the Sontarans are in this alleged new series, the Daleks are in this, and there was somebody else with it. Nobody gives a toss, because we've all left it as fans. We don't like the new version. We don't like the woke version of Doctor Who. We don't like the Chibnall area. We're not. We've walked away. We're not interested. They can bring back whatever they want to. It's not going to get us going, oh, we're excited, because we don't care. And the public are the same.
What's interesting, JT, there is that by the sounds of it, they are literally throwing everything at this new series to just try and drag it back to some degree of popularity by chucking in all of the classic monsters, and that just smacks of desperation anyway.
It really did. It really, because you've still got a piece of wood opposite them, haven't you? So come on.
Yeah.
Well, that Dalek is being dragged in there, whether it wants to be dragged in or not. Just say a couple of hellos to people watching in the chat. We've reminded Vanessa Law here of the Skittle Dalek controversy of 2010, of course, the big controversy there. Yeah. And we've got a hello everybody from Wendology.
Hello.
Good to see you again, Wendology, with your friend there on your shoulder.
And with a lovely pussy. Hi, Dwayne.
It never doesn't get a laugh, does it, that gag? We've got, Dwayne Bunny here, watching from Tasmania. Good day, guys, says Dwayne. Good to see you here, Dwayne. There's
from Tasmania?
A little later on from Dwayne. Yeah, we'll be checking in some more with him later.
Wow.
And, we've got lots of chat and comments. Please keep them coming. Yeah, but I did one.
Where is Tasmania?
Tasmania.
I thought that's why Tegan came to mind, wasn't it? Get out. Stop it.
Well, if we're not necessarily pleased to see the Daleks, I think I've got something here a bit of a white pill that I think everybody will have been pleased to see. Now, I didn't watch this, but a little while ago. Where is my picture? Hold on. I think I've lost it. Have I lost it? Hold on one moment. Yeah, so I've got a picture somewhere. Where are we? I've built it up. It's got
nicely handled.
I've got it. Here it is. So yes, obviously the Doctor Who fan base and those actors that we talked about earlier on, Ian, you know, how they all interact with one another and with us, it is like a big family. And you know, you could say that it's kind of like an extended family too, because there are some actors, they may have only been in it once or twice or whatever, but when they make a big impact, we latch onto them. And I think when they're national treasures too, even more so. Now, a lot of us grew up watching this guy in various shows. And of course, he was a huge success. A huge success in One Foot in the Grave in the 90s. This is Richard Wilson. Now, he was out and about at the BAFTAs on Sunday just gone. I don't watch the BAFTAs. I couldn't care less. But I saw this picture. 85 years of age now, Richard Wilson is.
Wow, I don't believe it.
Wow. Wonderful.
Well done, Mega Geeky.
Very good.
Oh, God. But if you remember, because Richard Wilson, you may think, why is he talking about Richard Wilson? Richard Wilson was, of course, the guest star of The Empty Child and the Doctor dances. Really, he was tremendous in that part. By that time, a national treasure, really, for playing Victor Meldrew, One Foot in the Grave, and all the other sitcoms and dramas that he'd done right the way from the 70s through the 80s. But I don't know if you guys remember, a few years ago, Richard's health did take a turn for the worst, and he hasn't been seen in public many times since. And yeah, even though he's only peripherally associated with Doctor Who, I just thought it was delightful to see Richard up and about there. He's about to turn 85, and a big beaming smile on his face. I just thought it was lovely.
Isn't he an actor that absolutely should have played the Doctor? You know, he's one of the great actors that we missed as the Doctor. Oh, absolutely. And I think his performance in The Empty Child just shows it. It's those kind of actors that I think really the role demands now. It needs somebody with some gravitas, some character, something about them, some acting ability. And Richard, and he has all of that in absolute bucket loads. And his performance in The Empty Child and the Doctor dances is just a joy to watch throughout. I love that bit at the very end when the lady came and said, I had a wooden leg when I came in here, Doctor. And he said, what is it? He says,
are you sure?
Could you have miscounted?
What was that hospital comedy you did back in the 70s? What was that called? Can anyone remember?
Only When I Laugh.
Only When I Laugh. Thank you. Yeah.
James Bolam and Peter Bowles.
Oh, yeah. Who we talked about last week. Wow.
Yeah.
Have any of you, Ian Kubiak or JT? You're the guys who've sort of met most of the stars. Have either of you met Richard Wilson anywhere?
Yeah, once. Yeah.
What was he like?
Real nice gentleman. Very, very polite. It was a very short meeting. It was at an event. Really, really lovely. Yeah.
I met him in Soho House. The words he said to me was, can you pass my sandwich? Because he had a sandwich on the bar. And that's the conversation I had with him. I went, oh, okay, there you go. And then when he went away, I went, I don't believe it. It's Richard. No, I didn't. But yeah, I met him once.
One or more of you would have.
Sorry? What was that?
I knew one or more of you would have done, because between us, we seem to have met a fair few of them. But yeah, I've always really liked him, always really enjoyed him in things. And, you know, obviously 85, that's a great age. But I just thought it was, when he was out to the public eye, you know, you get worried for people, don't you? Just hope they're okay. You hope they're safe. You hope that they're sort of recovering, particularly when they've been ill. And I just thought it was lovely to see him out in his trainers, but with his dicky bow on there. And clearly happy to be out there at the BAFTAs. Whether he had a good time at the BAFTAs or not, I wouldn't like to say. I'd say probably not, but at least he was at the house, Richard. So it's happy birthday for your upcoming 85th birthday, Richard. It's good to see you up and about.
Well, don't they get fed and get a little drinky at the BAFTAs?
I bloody hope so. Having to sit through
that. It's worth going then, Richard. Good for you, mate.
Yeah. And talking about birthdays and all those things, it's that time again in the live stream. Yeah, this is over to you, Simon, because you know when everybody's birthday was, don't you? And all those kind of dates. And so we're going to check in now with your 500-year diary. This is the bit, JT. The cue's coming. This is
thank you.
This is on this day,
the
8th of June, with our mate.
Right, everybody.
Yes, right, okay, here we go. Well, as Ian has already mentioned, which way? That way. As Ian has already mentioned, yeah, Colin Baker, bless him, is 78 today. So happy birthday to the great man, Colin Baker. Absolutely, what a legend. And also, yeah, as you can see from the photo there, also this week, David Troughton is 71. Well known, obviously, as playing King Peladon in The Curse of Peladon. He will be 71 this week. Kit Pedler, bless him, would have been 94 this week. Kit
Pedler was the co-creator of the Cybermen, wasn't he, Simon?
Absolutely, along with Jerry Davis. Kit Pedler was kind of the scientific brains behind the Cybermen, and he would have been 94 this week. He died in 1981, age 53, bless him. Yeah, poor old Kit. And my sort of who's hero for this week, who would have had his birthday today, is, in my estimation, the great Peter Grimwade, who would have been 79 today had he not died in 1990, aged 47.
I know, so young.
Wow.
And Peter Grimwade, as I say, is my absolute hero for this week. He had 13 credits on Doctor Who. He started as a production assistant on Spearhead from Space. The Demons, which he was even uncredited on, went on to Robot. Ian, we're back to Robot. Peter Grimwade was the PA on that. Pyramids of Mars, The Robots of Death, Horror Fang Rock. He worked on some great stories. Absolutely. And then of course, this is when he becomes one of my heroes. He went on to direct Full Circle, Kinder, and Earthshock. 3 absolute cracking JNT stories, in my estimation. Earthshock is absolutely up there. And he also wrote Time Flight, which we don't talk about.
I was wondering if you were going to mention that.
We don't talk about that.
There can't be too many Doctor Who figures, though, Simon, that had the chance to wear so many hats.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly, he wanted to direct Time Flight because he was directing JNT stories in that era. He really wanted JNT to let him direct Time Flight. And I think they should have let him direct Time Flight. I think it would have been interesting to see what he did with his own quite dull story, in all honesty. Kind of put him on the spot.
I heard that he wanted to direct it because he wanted a free ride on Concorde or something. Or was that the writer?
That was all of them.
That was all of them.
All of them. Absolutely all of them.
Would have made a lot of sense. But he also wrote Mordrin and Dead, which I think is a great story, and Planet of Fire, which I also think is a great story. But as I say, for me, his directing is what shines through, and Kinder in particular, and Earthshock are absolutely, right up there for me. And as I say, bless him, dying at 47. Such a talented guy that we lost far too young. Also, this week, actually today in 1978, Tom Baker was on his way to Belfast on a helicopter, in fact, for a 2-day goodwill visit to schools and hospitals. And I've sort of there we are. I've got actually the official magazine to thank for this, because they've highlighted this in their latest issue. That Tom was off on an RAF helicopter to Belfast, and he visited schools in both the Protestant and the Catholic districts of Belfast to make sure that there was nothing political there at all. I love this quote that they quote in the magazine from Tom. He says on his way over on the British Army helicopter, he says, "I took great care to hug my long scarf close to me. My scarf was 20 feet long, and it went through my mind that should it get entangled in the blades of a chopper, it would swing me clean out of the province," which is just it's just a great Tom Baker quote. So today he was in that helicopter on his way over for a 2-day visit to Belfast, and bless him, this is what Tom did so well. This is one of the reasons why I love Tom so much, because not only did he apparently he visited 2 Protestant and 2 Catholic schools, completely off his own back. Nobody made him do this. Nobody knew he was coming at the time. To put it in context, let's not forget.
He wasn't flogging anything, Simon.
Absolutely nothing to flog. And Belfast at that time was going through the Troubles, and there were bombs going off left, right, and centre, killing people. So he took it upon himself to do that. He even went and visited kids in hospital, poorly kids in Belfast hospitals. So he was just one of those people. It frustrates me a bit when we see a photo of certain actors playing the part recently that get trolled out saying, "Oh, look, isn't this actor being brilliant at doing a selfie with this person?" I'm like, no, you do what Tom did. You go to Belfast. You at the time when his life was in danger, and you visit those kids in hospital, and that's what you do as a hero for me. And finally, for this week, we've got a couple of episodes. Planet of the Spiders today. Planet of the Spiders. The final part is 47 years old.
Wow.
Today.
Wow.
And I don't know about anybody else, but I've got really, really fond memories of.
I was
Planet
scared when I watched that. Yeah.
Part 6. I can still remember watching this. I cried my eyes out because I thought the Doctor had died. I didn't understand at that age. How old was I? 6 at that point.
Tear Sarah? Yeah.
And I Dear Sarah Jane, yeah, absolutely, it's beautiful. And yeah, I cried because I didn't know that the Doctor was going, and it had got spiders in, which are my biggest phobia. I'm terrified of spiders. So I've just got really, really vivid memories of this. And tomorrow, as you can see from the photo there, tomorrow it'll be 14 years since we saw Blink. And I have to say, Blink is, it's one of my favourite of the modern era. I have to be honest. I know it comes in for a bit of stick, but I love Blink. What's anybody else think of Blink?
Love it.
I love it too. I think it's fairly well loved. In fact, generally, I think it's considered to be a bit of a classic, isn't it, Ian Kubiak?
Yeah, I was lucky. Bizarrely, when it was transmitted, it was shown at a Doctor Who event, and it was shown on a big cinema screen. So to see Blink like that, and it's very, very sort of cinematic anyway. Yeah, I like it.
Best episode where the Doctor was not in it. Hardly in it, shall I put it?
It's amazing to think it's 14 years ago. It really is.
Yeah.
Classic, but new at the same time. And yes, you rightly say, John Pertwee to bow out on this day. Back then,
on this very day,
seismic for children watching at the time, wondering on earth who could follow that.
And I think what's also interesting is we kind of think of season finales as being a thing of today. But Planet of the Spiders episode 6 is definitely, it's a season finale. It builds to a finale. Not every classic series season ends on such a big episode. But I think they pulled the stops out with Planet of the Spiders 6. Parts of Planet of the Spiders don't work for me. Episode 2 is literally tedious and intolerable. The chase of episode 2, I think, is the bit that you just want to skip that entire episode. But other than that, it's a cracking story, and as I say, they really pulled the
But they only did that for their leading man, didn't they? I mean, he wanted to do it, and it was his last story, so why the hell not? You know, I watched that whole episode thinking, you love this, Pertwee.
And the thing is, because what I've got to remember, JT, is it was only ever meant to be watched once. So it was a bit self-indulgent. Yeah. There was no problem. It's only because we watch it again now and re-watching it gets a bit heavy weather. But for the first time you see it, certainly as a 6-year-old kid, I just loved all of that. This was the point where I was absolutely becoming obsessed with Doctor Who. You know, I can really now. Down. And finally for today, on Saturday, and this is absolutely key for me, on Saturday, The Demons Part 4 will be exactly 50 years. So we are now right in the middle, at this moment in time, we're slap bang in the middle of The Demons being exactly 50 years ago this week, which, let's be honest, is quite significant. I think that's what you call a milestone.
Pretty extraordinary. Yeah, I mean, you could say, and I say this all the time, in fact, that us Doctor Who fans are always celebrating the anniversary or marking the anniversary of something. And when you've got a legacy of the best part of 160 classic stories there, Barnaby, odds are that something important or something that means a lot to one person or another will have aired on this day at some point in history. But obviously some stories, they cast longer shadows than others, don't they? And there's something about the Demons, isn't there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, talking about crying at finales, I think Caves of Androzani is definitely a finale, and I wept a tear during that ending scene when he's just carrying Perry over to the TARDIS, and that music comes and all the heads come round. I mean, that itself.
Die, Doctor, die!
Die, Doctor, die! Oh yeah,
What a nasty man that is. Yeah,
nasty man.
Yeah, but he drank that it was the last potion, and he gave it to Perry.
Yeah.
If it was Jodie, she'd probably drink it herself and let Perry die. But you know, that's the way it goes.
But again, looking at that's yet again, Androzani episode 4 is absolutely well. It should have been the season finale. I think we can forget the twin dilemma because that was the season finale. And again, and again. With the demons, part 5 again. To me, that's absolutely season finale in the sense that we think of now as a season finale. So this is not a new
get
thing.
higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, don't they? We're touching the hearts and minds here of people watching in the chat. Vanessa Law says she prefers Time of Angels, but Blink is fantastic. Haven't got Planet of the Spiders yet in my rewatch. She hasn't got to that yet.
Right.
When I watch Planet of the Spiders, says Crimplin Doubloon, I'm still a 6-year-old kid. Again, talked about this is the show that makes you feel like a kid again. He even likes the chase scene. Which
it's just
is a point of contention. So some people like it, some of them don't. Cam is also joining us. Overused the Angels, but I just watched Planet of the Spiders 4 days ago on Pluto TV's Doctor Who channel. We've talked about Pluto a couple of times, haven't we? They stream classic Doctor Who, and you can't sort of flit around the way you can on Netflix or Amazon. But if you've just got back from the pub or you've got a takeaway on the go and you fancy some Doctor Who going on in the background, I think that Pluto's a pretty good service. And problem being, yes, we mentioned problem being. He's along and he asks who's this sexy lineup then? Well, it wouldn't be for me to say, but
I'll tell you something. Planet of the Spiders is going to look stunning on the Blu-ray when season 11 comes out on the collector sets and the standard edition. It's going to look gorgeous because they'll be able to tie up all that cringy CSO. Well, it's going to look really quite glossy, I hope. It's a shame they can't really do anything about the acting.
Shaky, you can't say that.
I just did.
Can I just pick? I just want to pick up something that Simon mentioned about the demons. Obviously, we lost Damaris Hayman last week. Sadly, passed away. And she was a close friend of mine actually, and I had rang her on the phone.
Well, can I ask you to hold that thought just for a moment?
Yeah, sure.
We've got a whole section coming up about Damaris because we know that
brilliant,
you knew her, so we've got that all queued up. But for now, Simon, thanks for that. We're going to close the diary and we'll be back.
What's that all about?
I'm going now. Bye.
Yeah, exactly.
What he's done there, he's been raiding the BBC sound effects album from many moons ago. And he's lifted that track.
Yeah.
I hated it then. I hated it in the Blackpool exhibition, and I hate it now.
Don't listen to him.
The fact that listen, JT, the fact that you think that is an actual bit of music from a Doctor Who episode when it isn't, it was specifically created for Type 40 by our friend Problem Being there watching in the chat. So
really,
sound authentically Doctor Who. That's how clever he is.
Oh, sounds like. I can't remember what it sounds like, but it does sound like something very familiar from the effects album. If anyone remembers the sound effects album.
Oh,
sounds a bit like Wotan.
Yeah.
It does sound a bit like Wotan. You're right, actually.
Oh, then a little.
It's a bit of a Wotan.
This is going into the next segment of the show, and as Ian Kubiak mentioned earlier on, a few days ago, the Doctor Who community, we lost one of those iconic actors who was only on the show for a relatively short period of time. Just those 5 weeks, as Simon rightly said, 50 years ago, back in 1971, as one of the supporting cast of that 5-part story, The Demons. And it was Damaris Hayman, who's passed away at the age of 91. And
Wow.
this actress, immensely well recognized, well liked, a string of delightful performances in TV and cinema, stretching back decades. Doctor Who fans had immense affection for this woman, both for her work on screen and because she was such a presence at conventions over the years. She played Miss Hawthorne, of course, in The Demons, the White Witch of Devil's End, and it's a remarkable performance. It's unforgettable. She kind of steals the story, and in a seminal Doctor Who adventure like The Demons, Simon, that's no mean feat, is it? I mean, here we are. These are some magic moments here with her playing Miss Hawthorne. I mean, this is just a fraction. She interacts with everybody, and she shows so many different sides to this character, and everything that you see her in. Come to think of it, that there's such a quality and such an authenticity to everything that this actress did. Immensely sad that she's left us.
I mean, the Demons literally revolves around her in many ways. She's like the center of a hurricane, kind of, and everything else is whizzing around her, and she's the eye of this hurricane. And part of that is the writing. Undoubtedly, part of that is the writing, because it's excellent writing. But absolutely, at least 50% of it is Damaris, because she just absolutely nails this part. She was born to play this part. Nobody could do it better than she did it.
It was inspired casting, wasn't it? Inspired casting, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
You almost wonder whether the part was actually written for her. I don't know. In many of these classic shows, they often had in mind who they weren't, and you wonder whether it was, because she's basically playing herself.
Because obviously Barry Letts wrote this story pretty much, didn't he? And he had a habit of putting in actors, because Barry Letts was originally an actor, and he had a habit of bringing through people that he'd worked with himself when he was an actor, other actors that he'd got a relationship with, I suppose. And maybe as a writer as well, he could imagine certain actors in certain parts. The Demons was just one line of a huge filmography for this actress. But yeah, I want to come to you now, in Kubiak. Yes, she was a friend of yours, wasn't she? How did you come to meet Damaris? And obviously, I'm sorry for your loss.
No, well, I think it's a loss for all of fandom, actually. So I met her back in the 90s. She lived in Cheltenham, and I live in Gloucester. So, and you just hear, oh, do you know there's a lady who's in Doctor Who? Blah, 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 blah. And then I just met her at an event somewhere, and then over the years we would stay in contact. So I would go and see her, and ironically, there is a reunion at Oldbourne in August on the 7th and 8th, and we got Katie, Richard, and John, and a couple of the other guys from the supporting cast. And sadly, Damaris moved into I'm sure it's fine to say this now, moved into a nursing home just as the pandemic started, because she had people who'd come and check on her, but that just couldn't happen, so she had to go into a nursing home. And we were trying to arrange something that she could be involved in some way, because she went to the last reunion, which was not 2 years ago. The same organisers doing a weekend event, and I'm going to help there as well. And I think with Damaris is that what you know. Her mind was so sharp; she could tell you everything that happened on the show. I think people fell in love with her. Keith Barnfather, for example, who did the spin-off, the White Witch of Devil's End. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it just showed, and she won 2 awards for that. The production's been entered in for awards, and sadly, she couldn't actually receive the actual award for it. But she knew of it, and I'd spoken to her a couple of days before she passed, and I was supposed to go on and see her Saturday just gone, because now you can go and visit people in care homes, and it was about arranging something for her to have some sort of involvement for the upcoming Oldbourne event, but sadly it wasn't meant to be. But you know, if anybody who has never been to Oldbourne, and I'm not just saying this because I'm helping, it's not my event, so I don't need to plug it. But go, because it's not just about the demons. You've got who else is there? You've got Sophie Aldred going on the Sunday. You've got Fraser going on the Saturday. Fraser Hines. And I'll put a link up to it if that's okay for you to share, Dan. But cool. You know, it's going to be a fantastic weekend, and it'll be outside on the village green. Nothing has changed in 50 years, and I believe there's going to be a replica of Bessie there as well, and it'll be a fantastic weekend for fans to come together. You know, possibly for the first time in over a year, really, in person.
And Ian is right. For anybody that hasn't yet been to Oldbourne, it is truly any Doctor Who fan has to make a pilgrimage to Oldbourne at some point, and you will not be. We've talked about this before, but you will not be disappointed. Ian's right; it hasn't changed one iota, pretty much since the Demons. So you arrive in Oldbourne, and it is literally like just walking into the Demons. And firstly, it's a beautiful village. It's a magnificent village, and secondly, as I say, it's so instantly recognisable. It's a beautiful place to go to. So if you're a Who fan, at some point, make that journey to Oldbourne. You won't be disappointed.
Do you know what got me about Damaris's passing? It wasn't just. It was the fact that it wasn't just Doctor Who fans that were sharing their upset and their grief. It was the entire industry, and any social media page based around something to do from archive television to television in general to the actual pages of the likes of industry specialists and all this sort of broadcasts. Everybody acknowledged that this gorgeous, wonderful, beautiful, softly spoken woman had passed on, and I've never quite seen that in recent years when it comes to, you know, when somebody passes on. Doctor Who fans, we all do our bit, and we all but to see everybody else joining in that as well and say, oh Lord, look at this and all this, that got to me, and I thought, my gosh, you know, look at the impact she had through her entire career, because she goes right back to some wonderful, amazing stuff, a picture of which we have there. I was actually like, wow, that's incredible.
To have been personal friends with Tony Hancock and people like Margaret Rutherford, I understand.
Yes, she does. Margaret Rutherford gave Damaris one of her cloaks that she used when she was playing Miss Marple.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'd like to know where that is, because I'd flog it.
One of the things that really strikes me with this is she's one of the last great eccentric actors that we've lost as well. And heck, there are so few of them left. I mean, I'm not going to begin to count them on the fingers of one hand. But generally, we are losing great eccentric, interesting actors. Because they are of an age that is now sadly almost past, and that's what breaks my heart with Damaris.
I totally agree.
Because
I totally agree with you, Simon.
Same as Beatrix Learman, she's same as John Pertwee, same as Tom Baker. So many of these great actors are true eccentrics in the best possible sense. And those are the actors that are interesting to watch. And I think, JT, that's why a lot of the industry is picking up on Damaris passing, because she was recognised throughout the industry as one of these great eccentric actors, an interesting actor that we're losing too many of.
That's certainly tying in with what you're saying there, Simon. She was one of those legends, those icons of proper British acting talent and caliber, and going right back to the musical days. You know, she had the links into the musical families. I mean, come on, it's sad days now.
We talked a little about Richard Wilson earlier on, and Ian Diaz. You know, I mean, look at this. Check out some of the names here of these shows. Steptoe & Son here we've got on screen. There she is with Wilfrid Bramble and Harry H. Corwood. I mentioned Tony Hancock earlier on, but she was also in. Get this, for a list of shows. So we've got One Foot in the Grave, Steptoe & Son, Says Les with Les Dawson. She worked with Ronnie Barker on various pilots for shows. She was in Love Thy Neighbour. She was in Clarence again with Ronnie Barker, The Liver Birds. She was in the young ones Barnaby too.
Yeah.
This is like it runs the
everywhere.
gamut of
She was in the
classic
Pink Panther.
TV. She was in the Pink
She
Panther
was,
movies
wasn't she? I'd
too.
forgotten that. Yes.
I've got a list of films here. The Pink Panther
Yeah.
Strikes Again, a St. Trinian's movie when she was very young, the Confessions of a Driving Instructor movie with Robin Asquith, the great Robin Asquith. She was in Michael Palin's The Missionary. Ian Kubiak. All these credits. This career for this actress, this really recognisable actress. The British public did recognise her, didn't they? And how did she feel about them? How did she feel about fans? Was she humbled by it?
Yeah, she always made time for them. I was lucky enough, in the last sort of 5-10 years to drive her to various events. She I don't want to make out that we were best mates and like would phone every day. It would be a distant friendship, and she would phone to say, "Oh, I've been invited to such and such a place. Would you mind driving me or taking me on the train?" I was like, "Yeah, no, that's fine. It's a day out. And we would catch up and have a cup of tea, slice of cake, and that sort of thing." But the one thing I noticed is that when fans were with her, they were in awe of her, because I think there was the beaming intelligence, and she could remember everything that she's always done. And
Really?
she was invited, and I took her to I think it was On the Buses, an On the Buses event, again, she was able to remember. It was a small part that she did on that, and there were about 30-40 fans there, but they all made time for her, and like Matthew's just put up on said that an amazing career. Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure
still showing on the buses, isn't they? They're still
yeah,
showing
yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Right,
and I'm sure,
I'm so
they are.
surprised.
They are.
I'm sure she will never be forgotten by Doctor Who fandom. And
Well, anybody who remembers, we've got a caption up on screen here. Sadako watching in the chat. This was her famous line from the young ones. Just a simple delivery. Do you dig graves? To Neil, the hippie character, wasn't it? It's a wonderful line, and then she just pretty much just walks off into the smoky distance. Incredible stuff. And she was in Filthy Rich and Cat Flap too with Rick Mayall and Aid Edmondson. And she played the character who's Victor Meldrew sees an advert, doesn't he, for some shoes that are for sale, and he goes round to the address that's listed in the newspaper. You remember this one, Barnaby? What does he find when he gets round to the address? What does he find?
He comes in and then she's there and just goes like, "Well, my husband's just died recently, and I won't have any use for the shoes, obviously." And he goes, "Oh, fine. Well, they through here?" She goes, "Yes." Opens the door. Her husband's there, dead, in the sofa, and she's just there. She bends down and starts taking his shoes off. She goes, "Size 10. That was your size, wasn't it?"
The thing with Damaris as well is that you were saying that, Ian, about how she was adored in a way by the fact. The reason for that was she just had this presence, and you can actually use the word magical without any irony at all, because she was an actress and she knew how to put the audience in the palm of her hand and how to work them and how to respond to them, and that talent, that ability that a lot of the modern day actors haven't got, because all they want to do is get on the telly, was just, it just absorbed you, and you were just there, and you just amazing.
It's a different era when it comes to actors. I mean, Barnaby should know this. At that moment in time, that was a very particular way of performing, wasn't it?
Well, eccentric actors can't exist anymore. You can't be eccentric, Otherwise, someone.
Why do you say that, Barnaby?
Well, I think you can't really be too. You've got to have a certain public persona. I think. I think some people get particularly people get sort of worried. I think if you're a bit too eccentric, to go out there because people don't really like too many opinions. So I don't know, but
it's such a shame though, because those are the actors that just
can't really be yourself. Can't be yourself.
But that's what made you being British. And when you look at some of our classic television and our movies, we stand out so much from everybody else in the world because we have that ability to have that twinkle and to have that way of delivering a line, or the double entendre, or all this stuff you can't do today. And it's such a shame. It really is. I mean, you would never be able to do the likes of those original Margaret Rutherford, Miss Marples now, the same way, for the reasons that Barnaby's saying. You wouldn't be able to do any Carry On now, would you? I mean, come on.
I think
outrageous.
It's because it was steeped in stage work. Most actors of that time, it was all the very much throwing your voice out and being very over the top and stuff. Like when TV came along, these theatrical actors had to kind of rein them in, and they found the perfect balance between being over the top and in the middle for TV. And she was one of them. She found that balance. She found who she was as a persona on TV, and that's why people remember her. You know,
but also
completely different today.
Well, yeah, you're right, Ian, and also generally now we have actually sort of allowed the great British eccentric to die off because, as Barnaby says, it's not acceptable now. You know, if you are eccentric, you're probably going to get locked up, or you know, there's a various version of what eccentric is, or you're going to come across as combative or argumentative, and that's a shame because that was really part of our British heritage to have that off the wall. You mean look at Oscar Wilde for crying out loud?
I suppose you could say that the legacy. I suppose you could say that the legacy of such actors as Damaris Hayman, Ian, you can see a little of her in people like Miranda Hart.
It's changed though. The way actors are now has changed. As I said, it was all steeped in theatre at that moment in time. Everyone from Hartnell straight through to Tom, straight through to even Peter, they were all very much born on stage. They're all very much stage performers until they went to the BBC.
Even further than that, Ian, of course, they'd learned their craft through cabaret, not just on stage, doing. I don't doubt that Damaris probably played Madame Arcati at some point in her career on stage in the early days. But as I say, people like John Pertwee and those other great eccentrics had learned their craft through cabaret, and so they knew how to work an audience. I mean, I'm interested, Barnaby. Are you saying that you can't be yourself today? Is that what you're saying as an actor?
Barnaby not be himself? Yeah, get over.
I'm thinking there's a lot of limitations on like be yourself. There's not really so much freedom about like just saying he's just being eccentric or something like that. So because you've got to be so careful what you say when you're in like the public persona, and it's just quite fun to just say something without the fear of being arrested. Or
I agree,
and that's not the world we're actually living in, is it, Barnaby? You're absolutely right, and I think that's one of the reasons why. I mean, Ian, you're going on about the eccentrics in theatre, but actually, when I was a boy, we had eccentrics in real life.
Yeah,
we have great British eccentrics all around us, and when you're kids, you tease them and think they're mad and what have you. But we had eccentric teachers. I remember a very eccentric fireman, and he was a man, and he was a fireman, so that's it. But when I was a kid, some of our grandparents were eccentric. The great British eccentric is now gone because it's no longer allowed, and it's always been looked at. I think that does affect some of the character actors, the alleged character actors of today.
Yeah. My friend, I have a friend named Anthony, and his dad, they came from Nigeria in the 60s to come over in England. And his dad thought that wearing a bowler hat and a suit and having an umbrella and walking to find a job, he thought that was being English. That he is now English because he has the bowler hat and
he's more English than English, it sounds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that was the tone of the time, and it went straight through into the 70s, and it was still there in the 70s, kind of slowly peaking out in the 80s and stuff like that. And and that time, that's where they breed those actors. That's how they were. That's what time they came from.
Over the years, over the decades, the production teams on Doctor Who have sort of found that and mined that seam of great British eccentrics for both the parts such as Miss Hawthorne and even for the main cast. And I just want to read out this tribute to Damaris here from Katie Manning, arguably the fairy godmother of Doctor Who, and she said, "An incredible woman, friend, and actress has gone on her awfully big adventure. We instantly became lifelong friends. I will always feel such gratitude. Damaris Hayman touched and enriched my life so strongly. She will be a huge loving. She will so strongly. Sorry, she will be a huge loving smile in my memory forever."
Lovely. How lovely. Can I just say something about? Can I say again, going in with the eccentric bit? When I met Damaris many years ago, and I'm sure it was at an Aldbourne gig as well, possibly by Galaxy 4, I think maybe. But we spent 35 minutes talking about the beauty of Eclairs, chocolatey eclairs. I have no idea how, but we were on the same wavelength.
Does that sound like the lady that you knew, Ian? Yeah, I was going to ask.
Yeah. She likes cake and a cup of coffee. Lovely lady. Lovely lady.
So I'll give you the final word in this tribute then, Ian. What do you think we'll miss the most about Damaris?
I think, to be quite honest, I think any future events at Oldbourne, that is what will be missing. Will be her. Like I said, there's the one coming up in August, and it just won't be the same. And I'm sure everybody will raise a glass and toast her memory. But I feel mainly sad for people who knew her better than I did. People like Keith Barnfather and Ian Fraser, a photographer who does wonderful photos. And Alex at the Who Shop and people like that who. And the Phantom Films boys as well, the people that actually worked with her time and time again at events and things over the years, and it's sad, but we have wonderful memories of her.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do.
And people are joining in the chat. Yes, sharing memories of watching her in her various roles, and agreeing with Katie Manning's words there, it's very, very touching. Dear Katie, here says Richard Brooks. Touching words. And chocolate eclairs as well. That's also bonding people together. Obviously, rest in peace, Damaris Hayman. Big contribution. And I don't think every time we watch The Demons, obviously we're very, very sad that she's no longer with us, but we're immensely grateful that she was with us and able to give that performance at all.
And on the one hand, it's so sad, obviously, that The Demons is 50 literally as we speak. But then maybe that's just as it's meant to be. Maybe
I think so.
On the one, it feels very, very right. And I'd always worked in my season 8 Blu-ray box set. I was working up to watch The Demons, and next week in celebration of the 50th anniversary. And that's what I'm still going to be doing. But now I'll be raising a glass as well, and it'll be just a little bit more bittersweet this time watching The Demons.
Yeah.
No, I get that completely. We're going to take a quick Type 40 break now for some adverts and clips and whatever else. Time for you to grab a coffee and do whatever else. Just
and an eclair.
So, maybe an eclair or two. Yeah, why not? Why not? So, meet us back here in a couple of minutes. Cheers.
The Doctor is back to face an old enemy in a brand new adventure exclusive to BBC I. Colin Baker tackles the Cybermen in real time at bbc.co.uk/cult.
This man has just been to the dentist. He's brushing his teeth the way his dentist advised. For this he needs a good toothbrush, so he chose the Oral-B+. Scientifically designed to be gentle on gums, yet tough enough to remove plaque effectively. People who care about their teeth and gums use Oral-B+.
When I was in the look-in office this week, I met the man who does a lot of the drawing for the cartoons, and he lent me these drawings of Danger Mouse. This is what it looks like before it goes in the magazine. They call it a picture strip, and this is the artwork. All these little bits are stuck on afterwards. And while I was there, they gave me a copy of this week's look-in with Tracy Ullman on the cover. I'll read it after Wind in the Willows.
Time is running out. The destiny of the Doctor is in your hands. In a game like nothing on Earth, with old enemies and new riddles.
You will be exterminated.
Doctor Who, Destiny of the Doctors. Out now on PC CD-ROM. It was only a question of time.
Join the Doctor and Clara as the forces of evil attack! Battle the army of Cybermen! Beware the Weeping Angels! Spin and fly the TARDIS to different time zones! Connect the playsets! Build bigger adventures! Defeat the Ice Warrior! Save London from extermination! Doctor Who action figures and time zone playsets from Character!
Quite
Gosh,
that
that was
voice,
in the day. That was
that
in the days.
voiceover was really exciting, wasn't it? Join
Well,
Doctor Who!
And that was in the day when kids were actually excited about Doctor Who toys. Gosh, doesn't that date it? You wouldn't get that advert there.
Yes, the Cybermen were swarming. I want to tell you quickly, plug one other thing. Yeah, a quick shout out to Dwayne Bunny, who was in the chat earlier on. Dwayne is the co-host of the Sirens of Audio podcast. So they specifically talk about the audio adventures of Doctor Who, be they from Big Finish or from the BBC or wherever over the decades. Yeah, he's 60-odd episodes into this podcast with some great guests so far. And yeah, this week, I've joined them. I'm a guest on episode 61, The Podcatchers, where we talk about Doctor Who podcasts, funnily enough, about some of the good ones out there, and some about podcasting just generally as a thing. Why on earth do we do it? And bonding a little over that. So I had a great conversation there with both Dwayne and Philip. And that's up on the podcatchers on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and various other places. I think from tomorrow, all the links are there ready in the description already. So go over there, give them a follow. I think that's what you do on Apple Podcasts now. I think you have to follow rather than like. And keep a listen out and let us know what you think, or drop them a review or whatever if you can, if you've got a moment. And thanks for the invite, Dwayne and Philip. I really enjoyed it.
That title, The Podcatchers, for some reason reminds me of the Seeds of Doom.
Maybe that's
what they were doing.
That's what they had in mind. Yeah. Talking about links, Ian Kubiak. Yes, I wanted to come to you next. And yeah, I've named this edition of Type 40 Live that we're getting scooped, and that's a deliberate play on words, because obviously you've been running these events, haven't you, all the way through lockdown as Cygnus Alpha events, but under the name of Spearhead, and you've got a new one coming up. This is early next month, isn't it? So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've got coming up next?
Oh, well, I think I've been a bit ambitious with this event. So it's Spearhead Time Scoop on the 4th of July. A vast range of guests. In fact, I'm going to reveal 2 guests that haven't been announced. I'm going to give you an exclusive in a few minutes of 2 more guests. But it's looking at sort of the season 24. We've got some guests from there. We're doing a bit of a reunion, hopefully for the case of Androzani. We've got also because I love the fact that Eccleston was back with Big Finish. We've got Yasmin Bannerman, who played Jabe in End of the World, and a few other people from the Eccleston era. So it's a whole day event done over Zoom with a wide range of different guests. So, and also, I think really more exciting, I couldn't believe I forgot this one, is that we're getting as many of the Hartnell companions together as well. So we've got Carol Langford, Peter Purvis, and Annika Wills, but Annika Wills will only be joining by the phone because she's not very good with ICT. So we'll be able to hear her. And there's been some specially filmed introductions and closing statements that will go on the event as well. So I suppose you want to know who the other guests are.
Yes, come on, give us your exclusive. So you've got 2 guests you're about to reveal the identity of now with us here on Type 40 Live, everybody.
So they literally confirmed this morning, which I'm really excited about. So we have the director of Time and the Rani and Remembrance of the Daleks, which is, come on, put it all in the chat, people. Come on.
Let's see if anybody's got the name.
It's Andrew Morgan, obviously. Yeah. Andrew Morgan. So Andrew Morgan is taking part.
I've never seen Andrew Morgan interviewed that I know of.
Oh right. Well, he did he's done one previously for me because he was there with when I had Terry Malloy and all of the Dalek directors from the 80s together. So he was there because he did Remembrance of the Daleks. He also directed one episode of Blake 7. But as well as Andrew Morgan, we've got the amazing, and I've never ever spoken to him before, Stephen Wyatt, the writer of Paradise Towers. So they're coming along, and there's still a few names I'm waiting to hear back from, and so there's going to be a sort of a season 24 real theme to it, as well as other areas. And as well, we've got Sophie Aldred and Andrew Cartmel as well. So there's 5 chats over the day. 5 hours of brand new interviews. And Martin Turner, hi Martin, I know Martin. He comes along. He buys his ticket, and as always, when you buy a ticket, you get a signed postcard, which will be sent to you by one of the guests of that day. So one of these sort of things behind me will be signed maybe by Sophie Aldred or Andrew Morgan. Who knows? Who whatever you never know what you may get. And also, and you can buy your autographs as well from those guests taking part. And I'm also selling exclusively signed season 24 DVD box sets where you can have it signed by Sylvester and Sophie and the rest of the guests from that season as well. So it's all on the Cygnus Alpha website.
Well, I've put a link to your website in the description
Thank you very
of this
much.
video. It'll be in the show notes of the podcast too. But every time we speak to you, you always talk about these events, and it seems like they get more and more ambitious. This one seems sort of bigger than ever, really, and the length and breadth of the guests that you've got.
Well, I think this is quite an ambitious one. There's 5 chats, 5 hours worth of Zoom chats over the day, but then I am taking a summer break, so I won't be back. I won't be back until at least. It's nice out there, and people want to go outside, I believe, and I'm at the Demons event in August. I'm also going to be at another event in September, the Hooverville, which is a great event in Derby.
I'll be there. I'll see you there, Ian.
Brilliant. Well, we can have a drink. That'd be fantastic to meet you in person. I'm taking some guests to that event. I can't say who that is at the moment, but I'm taking some guests to that, and then possibly I'll be back in October with Spearhead. So when it's starting to get a bit dark of an evening, I'll be back with doing some more virtual events. Hopefully.
Remind us, because obviously you've run conventions for several years, haven't you? Traditional conventions in venues. And the whole Zoom, the whole virtual thing was the whole thing about necessity being the mother of invention. You put these original online events together during lockdown, wondering whether it was going to work or not for either the attendees or the guests. But it arguably has. I mean, we can see in the chat now people who, obviously, there's some of your punters are here watching here on YouTube, and it's great stuff. Can't wait. Well done, Ian. Get your tickets in. So, people clearly love what you do. So I do wonder how many ideas you have sort of ticking away in your head about things that you want to do next and people that you want to bring together next.
Yeah, I mean, I always come up with ideas, and it's usually when I'm chatting, when I'm doing the Spearhead show, and we're chatting, and then guests, the attendees are able to ask questions. And actually, at the last event, I allowed everybody to stay on, and I asked them. I said, what do you want? Because it's your event. You're the ones who are paying to be here and watch me waffle on. But then you get to ask your questions to everybody as well. So, and I think going forward there will be a future for some type of virtual event, because people like tuning in now to your show, from America, Australia, and all over. International travel isn't always going to be possible, and people can't always get to events for whatever. But you can get onto a computer. I mean, when we had Ian McCann, for example, Ian, you're lovely. You always support it from America, and thank you for your kind words there.
Let's put a comment. So this is Ian McCann commenting along, watching on YouTube at the moment. He says, Ian Kubiak always has ideas, good ideas, really enjoy his events. Been a great tonic through the pandemic. That must mean a lot to you hearing those words there, Ian.
It does, and I'm not the only one who does events. There's other organisations who've been doing virtual events. There's been the big American companies, but I'm not saying mine are better or worse, but what I offer is that level. It's live. It is the next best thing to being at an event where you're there listening to the person, and it's live. It's not a pre-recorded thing, and then there's no sort of hard sale of now pay $100 for a 2-minute one-to-one with them. No. So, but there's there are there's always ideas, and it is about bringing people together to be able to connect. And I think that you were saying about being ambitious. I think the biggest ambition which we succeeded with was with Tom Baker, to have Tom Baker earlier this year on the 40th anniversary of Logopolis, and that was quite a coup, so to speak.
Yeah, well, that was the last time that you were in to talk about that. So
yeah,
that all went well. It all went the way that you wanted it to, because you were a little nervous about interviewing Tom, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was the sort of funny thing was I had sort of 10 minutes with him prior to like going live, as it were, or live and kicking. I don't know, depending on how you are. And he was asking me all these questions, and he then said about he said, "Oh, so your surname, where's it from?" And I said, "Oh, it's originally Polish," and gave him the backstory. And then he said, "Oh, I must call you," and I won't say what it was, but it was my nickname from school, and it was that magical moment of, how does he know my name from school? And he just said, he did this. He goes, "I know things like that," like Tom could do. And
now there's an eccentric.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope to do more with Tom. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, that does sound. Yeah, that's the Tom Baker. I think those of us who I've never met Tom Baker, it does sound like the kind of Tom Baker moment I think most of us would like to have.
If anyone could be psychic, and would read minds, it'd be Tom Baker.
Yeah. If you're going to put your money on any of the doctors to turn out to be psychic, probably.
If anyone knows things, it's him. He knows too much.
Yeah. So let's remind people where and when they can get involved with this. So all the links are in the description of this video right now, and they'll be in the show notes of the podcast version too when that goes up. Ian's got a website. They can go and find out all the details about all the signings, can't they? The event itself, so time scoop, all the dates, everything else that comes along with it, who's going to be there, and what you're offering. All that's there on the website, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I think it's it's a chance that you can see your heroes from the show, get your merchandise signed or get a signed photo, and it'll take your mind off things. And the best thing is that we just had that commercial break for a few minutes, but there's always an hour between, or at least 45 minutes between each panel, so you can go off and get your cake and coffee and pizza.
Sounds tremendous. Yeah, well, anybody who goes, let us know how it is, and we'll hope you're going to come back and tell us how it went and what you've got planned next. You're going to Aldbourne, you say, over the summer. That's the next one. Yeah. So I'm helping out at the Aldbourne event, and I'm taking some of the guests as well. So and then again going up to Hooverville, which Simon, you've been yourself, and it is a traditional run by fans for fans event. It's a wonderful event.
Oh, it is. It's a really good event. I've been to Hooverville for the past 5 or 6 years every year, and it's just firstly, it's well organised. Secondly, as you say, Ian, it is by fans for fans. It's very small, very intimate, but in a really nice way. It's one of the nicest days you will ever have at a convention. It's a fantastic venue that it's in Derby. So I'd recommend Hooverville to anybody out there. And of course, one of our great followers of the show and on the show every so often is Gary Finney-Zare. He's one of the guys that does some of the interviewing.
Yeah, he's very good.
It's a great event. So I recommend Hooverville to anybody and everybody.
Yeah, I love how you come up with the names for your events as well, Ian. You're like me. You don't have much fat on your titles. Your time scoop. Yeah, that takes you back. We've talked a little about the Five Doctors on the show. It's inspired my background this time too. And it's memorable, I think. So you've had remind us what some of your other titles have been.
Spearhead Day of the Time Lords. That was for the anniversary weekend. Spearhead Extermination Day. That was a Dalek themed event. God, you got me here. The first one was Spearhead.
Short and punchy and memorable.
Yeah.
So people, sing the salvo. They do Spearhead. They do this. They do that. They do the other. I had a brilliant time at them. You're not going to mix your events. I don't think anybody's going to mix your events up with anybody else's. Yeah, I think Time Scoop is a great name for a convention. And best of luck with
everybody
that.
Up together.
Yeah, exactly. Best of luck with it. Can't wait to hear how it goes. And it did sort of inspire the choice of fan art this time as well, Ian, because now Ian Diaz, a few days ago at the end of the last show, we talked a bit about fan art, and you reminded me about the augmented version of the War Games that we looked at last year. Do you remember that?
Kind of.
Those shots from the I build them up, he knocks them out of the park. Yeah, so we talked about the fan art that we'd seen from the War Games, where people had been into frames of the War Games and added elements and did a bit of a George Lucas and made it look like it was made just a few years ago. We said, I wonder what that guy's doing now, because I hadn't made a note of who that was. I wasn't sure whether they'd done any more great artwork. So I went and I found it. I looked them up. I tracked them down. And have they done some good fan art? Well, it's inspired the choice of thumbnail for this video. So I'm going to look at that one first. And of course, this is Time Scoop related too, Ian. So here we are. We've got this one. This is Tim Hill is his name on Twitter. And this is the Sycorax. So this is clearly in the Death Zone on Gallifrey. And we've got a lone Sycorax warrior there. People have been scooped up, or aliens or monsters have been scooped up, and they're about to be deposited on the field of battle there with the Sycorax. Very evocative stuff, isn't it?
That's a really good picture.
Yeah.
And if anybody should be in the Death Zone, it is the Sycorax. I mean, they absolutely belong in the Death Zone from Gallifrey.
Yeah. And there's more. Turns out this was part of a series. So we've got another one here. Another one going back to the classic era.
Whoa.
Oh dear!
I don't know if you can see this. Those are Silurians there on pterodactyls.
Oh yeah.
And they've speared a Sontaran there. That's 3 against 1, or 6 if you include the pterodactyls, which isn't very fair. But then again, the Sontarans aren't very fair people, are they?
No, they're not. They're very warlike.
I love the fact they've got the Tower of Rassilon in the background there. I've always loved that design of the Tower of Rassilon.
You just hear that siren going off, and
that high pitch whistle. Yeah.
That apparently that was taken from the. It was Peter Howell sampled that from the foghorn from the Queen Mary 2, I think it is.
Really?
And then obviously treated it to get the horn of Rassilon, as it's known.
I bet it is. There's another one here. We're back at the tomb. A little bit closer. For the cheetah person and a crinoid, I think they're
crinoid,
crinoid.
Yeah, it's fantastic, isn't it? They're just great shots. And I like the fact that the colours are actually quite muted. You would be tempted to sort of go overboard on all the colours and make it look really garish, and they haven't. It actually looks sort of very similar to how the Death Zone looks in the Five Doctors, because of that grey Welsh sky.
Isn't he worried about that big creature in the background? He's just sitting there on his horse. It's like,
not phased. Too cool for school, I think. We've got one last one that makes up this series. More classic monsters.
Wow, that's great. That's
Why
really
would you put the Taran Wood Beast in there?
That's really good.
Taran Wood Beast with
He's even got the. He's even got the light on the side of his face as well. Is that the moon or something, or is that something that's floating above it, in front of him?
I think
it's not the moon, because it's not in the backdrop, is it?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it must be some sort of orb.
Yes,
draconian orb.
Yeah, it's a great picture though. It's really, really artistic. It's fantastic.
I thought so too. I knew you'd like those. So that's Tim Hill on Twitter. You can see all of these, the full set that he did of the Death Zone confrontations, various ideas about that. But there's also the stuff from the War Games that we talked about before, and various other things to do with both Doctor Who and Star Trek, other TV shows and movies and things. So go and give him a follow and tell him that Type 40 sent you. That would be pretty good. I don't know which one's my favourite. I think it could be that one, just for the fact that it's got the Taran Wood Beast inside.
on the subject of
the better.
sorry, Dan. On the subject of photos and being time scooped, I just remembered somebody did this for me many years ago. I don't know if you guys can see it. There we go. Oh.
Oh dear.
Very good.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That's how you know people care, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Enough said about that. There we go.
Wonderful stuff. Enough said, he says. Yes, let's have a check back in the chat as we wind the show. Down. Love Me a Crinoid says the talons of Wang Chiang.
Don't
You wouldn't want to keep one in the house, though. I think you'd have to have an extension built or have a lot of land. Yeah. People are asking, where can we bring back the crinoid? Says Matthew Burrows. And people are getting confused here. I thought it was Kroll. Richard Brooks, I suppose, one big blobby green thing is much the same as another. Depends on who you are.
It was either that or a very, very big Dalek.
Beautiful work, says Problem Being. Great work.
It is. It's fantastic work.
Yeah.
Love the fan art. There's some more art as well that I've seen this week too, and you sent these along to me, JT. So yeah, Doctor Who books, everybody, out relatively soon. So we've got, first of all, this one. This is a hardcover Doctor Who book out on the 2nd of September. So this, I suppose, the idea is this is for the Christmas market, isn't it? So this is the Doctor Who Atlas Journey Through the Worlds of the Doctor, with a foreword by director Rachel Talalay there. And this is one of the larger format books. It says Journey from Gallifrey to Skaro to Mondas and everything in between, with this beautifully illustrated atlas, full colour maps. There's epic pictures and the glorious history of the many faces of the Doctor. And there's some magnificent views, it says, of the entire saga. So there's 30 maps in this, and there's character profiles. And it's, if you haven't got enough reference books for places that don't exist, then this could be for you, or an ideal gift for the Doctor Who fan in your life. They seem to put out one of these books every Christmas, don't they, Barnaby? It's monsters, and it's often much of a muchness, I suppose, the same things remixed, but I can never resist a good hardback Doctor Who book.
Oh, no, me neither. I mean, I've still got the Dalek survival manual around here somewhere, which I don't think was a hardback, but I was very, very happy to have it in my life.
That's the little black one,
isn't it? The tiny one. Just one, could keep in your breast pocket just in case,
Just in case a Dalek comes along, I guess.
Exactly. Always be prepared.
Absolutely indispensable. The covers that I really liked, though, were these two. These are both out in 2 days' time as we're recording this on the 10th of June. These are two new titles from BBC Books. So we've got, under the Doctor Who banner, we've got The Wonderful Doctor of Oz and Legends of Camelot. Both of these are written by Jacqueline Rayner, who's been a Doctor Who writer for a couple of decades now. I think I've certainly seen her name on audio dramas and books and all sorts of things before. I thought that both of these covers were absolutely stunning.
Yeah, I really like that art, actually.
Well, the dress, the whole sort of design trades on traditional children's literature, I think, Barnaby, sort of classical children's stories on the Penguin imprint and things like that. But the artwork in the middle, as you rightly say, I mean, particularly, we've got one illustration here of Missy looking like the Wicked Witch of the West. That's it, from The Wizard of Oz, and the other one is the 10th Doctor astride a steed with some sort of Gallifreyan markings on his armour there, holding a Sonic Aloft with those 3D glasses on side.
That's very sort of Narnia in a way. I think that the one with the very sort of Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Great. Very good.
I've got the blurb for this one. So we've got The Wonderful Doctor of Oz is it's a Missy story which includes the 13th Doctor, whoever that is, and her companions. And the blurb says, when a sudden tornado engulfs the TARDIS, the Doctor and her, I'm not going to use that word, the Doctor and her friends find themselves transported to the magical land of Oz.
Thank you.
With a damaged TARDIS and an unexpected stowaway from the 1930s. Their only hope of getting home is to follow the yellow brick road. Yeah, I love The Wizard of Oz, and I do like these kind of fairy tale stories, and I kind of trust Jacqueline Rayner, to deliver a good story. So whilst I'm not very keen on any of those characters, I'm not even that big a fan of Missy. I probably would give that a punt based on Rayner's previous work, but I'm a lot more interested in the Legends of Camelot title there on the right. It says this ties into a classic Doctor Who story. And the blurb says, investigating a strange energy in Carberry, The 10th Doctor and Donna Noble are pulled into a different dimension, smashing a giant hole into another world in the process. A young squire, Arthur, comes to their aid, and when the Doctor is mistaken for Merlin, the penny drops there, they are all swept up in the glamorous and daring legends of the Knights of the Round Table. I, not long ago, watched the story that seems to be a prequel come sequel to Barnaby. You're a big 7th Doctor guy. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Of course, yes. I mean, it'd be great if they referencing Merlin, that kind of thing. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
It seems to be that story. It seems to be that story that they allude to, doesn't it? In Battlefield, the 1986 season 26 story. Even you would take a punt on that one, Ian Dears?
Yeah, that sounds like a really good story, right? Sounds like a really good story. I mean, yeah, anything. Just sounds like a really interesting concept. The David Tennant one, that is. I don't think much of this one with Missy, but anyway.
There's something
might make
about
a good episode.
The heroism of the 10th Doctor and the idea of the Merlin, because obviously when we see in Battlefield, the 7th Doctor is embroiled in a sort of, I don't want to call it a plan, but it's all a setup that's been staged by a later Doctor, and there's clues that may or may not be picked up. Of course, Battlefield aired 32 years ago now, JT. Good God, oh no, 32 years. And we're at last getting that story, albeit in print. I kind of hope that we may see that eventually on screen. But I think this book. Yeah, I'll probably give this book a go. I have faith in Jacqueline Rayner to tell us a good story there. I haven't read any Doctor Who books in a little while, any fiction ones anyway. So yeah, people have in the chat here on YouTube got people noticing here. Link to Battlefield says Digby Strawbridge and Richard Brooks here. Oops, Battlefield. But he's not Ginger. No, he's not. I love Missy, says Problem Being. We know you do. But I think it's because I love Michelle Gomez. He does.
Michelle Gomez is amazing. She is a great actress.
Yes, there's some passes here. Sadako 24 is going to pass on those. And we've got several.
Can't blame him.
Oh, yeah.
Can't blame him.
Yeah, I'm not saying she isn't, but the branding makes it look like teen fic, does it? I don't know. I think it looks like classical children's lit, but
so 90s Goosebumps or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, I can see what he means. Definitely see what he means. Yeah.
It's either that or they reminded me immediately of the old Penguin classics. I mean, those classics have been rejacketed and reproduced umpteen times, millions of times. But there was one version where the Penguin classics had the blue runner at the bottom and then a piece of artwork, which didn't relate, of course, to the book because it was just classic art. And that's what these sort of things to me say that they're still trying to find desperately the audience for these things. I mean, I'm not interested in those in purchasing them at all. I'll stick with the Mark Platt Target book at the beginning of Battlefield. He actually gives away what happens, later on. So it makes me think, hang on a minute, they're still trying to find the missing audience by changing the format of the book, the size of the book, the look of the books, trying to make it look, okay, you really want this. Never judge a book or anything by its cover.
JT, what's the name of the book that is it the novelization of Battlefield that spoiled?
Yeah, it's the Target novelization. Of course, now it's OP, out of print. It is by Mark Platt. And if you can source it down, do it, because Mark fleshes out Ben's book brilliantly, but there is a prologue there which introduces the ginger male Doctor as a future incarnation.
Yeah. Isn't it ginger?
That could be what that person in the chat was referring to. Disaster Area says, there is a new Doctor Who Max special on 1975 due out this week. You need to go back. You need to do some time traveling there, Disaster Area, and watch earlier on this very stream where we did talk about that. We've got the date, we've got the cover, we've got all the information about that there. So that's all waiting for you if you do a little bit of time traveling back to the start of this thread. And people comparing notes about where to get them. Yeah, with the Doctor Who books, I think that, clearly there hasn't been a consistent line and format now for some years. I'm not sure that they're sure who the customers are for the books. I think they know who they want to be reading them, but they're for one reason or another, I think it's for a number of reasons, actually, they're not managing to get them. I think these two books are more potentially interesting from the blurbs. I think they sound like two very different stories, but with a reliable writer. And I'm certainly very keen to read the David Tennant one. I think it's a good fit for his incarnation. But obviously, I am a sucker for a good cover, JT. I will admit. But yeah, I've come unstuck before by good covers. There's one other book that I want to mention before we head off, Simon. We are about to, or we have hit the first anniversary of the publishing of, well, sort of publishing of an ebook. And it ended up, I think it's certainly the biggest Doctor Who ebook of all time. It was published a year ago.
Oh, yes.
So this was Blackpool Remembered by our friends John Collier and Alex Storer, which is still available to download as a PDF.
Yeah, has it been a year already? And this was free. I mean, I'm assuming they're still giving it away as free. I hope we're not plugging something that they're now charging for, but it certainly was free. And it's a cracking read, and it's beautifully illustrated by Alex Storer, and you can see the cover there. It's just, for anybody that was there at the time and went to the exhibition, you know that is exactly how the exhibition felt. And so that to me is such an evocative piece of artwork, because it does just sum up exactly how I remembered those exhibitions being. And the book is just a cracking read. And I said at the time to John, come on, we need another one on Longleat now. And I'm hammering that each one. I still want that book on Longleat. Come on, bring it out. Great read.
Congratulations, guys, on the success of Blackpool Remembered. It was a hell of an achievement, and people are still downloading it and still reading it, I understand. So it's 1 year on. They've got a brand new title coming up. They just announced the date for the publishing of Blackpool Revisited. That's what it's called. That's out on Saturday, the 28th of August this year, 2021, for everybody. And that is a sort of expansion, isn't it, on Doctor Who in Blackpool, other locations, and more information that was sort of related to what was in the original title, but didn't quite sit so well with it. And I think that they had to sort of draw a line somewhere. But yeah, obviously, best of luck with the second title. Well done, Alex and John. We're going to get them back on the show at some point in the next couple of months, both on the podcast and maybe on the live stream, and talk us through their whole sort of production process again, and where all this has come from, and what next. We're going to get the Longleat title, JT.
Is that another PDF?
Yes, always.
Right.
I think there's still rumours. I think there's still sort of kind of rumours that they might at some point get it printed.
I hope so. I don't like PDFs.
I agree with you. I hope they get it printed. But as with anything, it's all down to cost, and maybe they need to do it as sort of a crowd funding thing where you put your money up front and you buy it up front, so that they know they've got the sales to afford the printing before they actually publish
Indiegogo, Kickstarter, all that kind of. It does seem like a perfect fit for that, John. If you're up for it, I know it may seem even quite daunting.
Count us in.
I think there is support for a hardback edition. Yeah, I'd be on board that right away. Let's check in with the chat one last time. Cam says.
Cam.
What have we got here? Cam. Thanks, Dan, and esteemed panel. Great stream you all do together. Be well and take it easy. I'll do my best. How about you guys? I'm going to do my best to take it easy. We've got another message here from Sadako, and people comparing how long they've been fans. I became a fan on the strength. of the 90s repeats of the Pertwee and Tom stories. The problem is those repeats sheltered me from embarrassments that came after and left me unprepared. I don't know what you mean. As a child of the 80s, I don't agree with any of that, but fair enough. Horses for courses. Yeah, I love that. You know I love Delta and the Bannerman, Mr. Jago. You know I do. Thanks for watching, everybody. Vanessa there checking in or checking out. Thank you all. Great stream. No, thank you for watching.
Thanks,
Kubiak, remind us. What's the date on the time scoop? We've got the link in the description already. What's that date again for the convention?
I don't know. Sunday the 4th of July, isn't it? 4th of July.
Sunday the 4th of July for that. Yeah, so head over to Ian's website and you get all the information about all of that. Yes, and while I remember, yeah, please like the video, particularly if you've been here the entire time. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. There's more Type 40 Live coming up soon. More topics like this, more guests, and another chance, everybody. We can reveal this now for you to ask us anything at all. Anything.
Bring
it doesn't have to be Doctor Who related, but we're down We're down for whatever, apart from the lottery numbers, because obviously, if we did know them, we'd keep them to ourselves. But yeah, so that's coming up soon, as well as more Doctor Who goodies and nuggets and news and reviews and all that kind of thing. Don't forget, also up on the channel, it's Type 40 Doctor Who podcast. Lots of those to stream or download here on the Spacebooks YouTube channel, or on the go on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, everywhere else. All those podcatchers that Dwayne Bunny was talking about earlier on in his link. And yeah, if this is your first Type 40 live, you'd like to see some more of this stuff, some more of our banter and silliness. There are over 20 other live streams that we've made over the last year or so, kicking off with our attempt to run the show here from YouTube with various guests from podcasting and YouTube. Lots of other conversations about the news and things like that, but also special shows, event shows, like when we had Bob Baker and Paul Tams in to talk all things K9, past, present, and future. That was a glorious show. There was our Doctor Who Day extravaganza where we picked our companions for last year, and our 12 Faces of Doctor Who fantasy repeat season show, and lots more from earlier this year, and some great guests. So please go and check them out at your leisure, if you have the time. But what's time to time traveler, everybody? What's time to? I hope you've all enjoyed yourself again.
A handful of heartbeats.
A handful of heartbeats. I don't know about you. How many heartbeats do you think it will be before my microwave is going to deliver me my evening meal, everybody? Thanks to all of you for your company, as always. Yeah, I don't know what I've got tonight. I'm still deciding. I'm still computing what I've got coming up.
Which pot noodles?
Yeah. What a glamorous life we all lead.
It's not quite that. I'm going to lay back on the lawn behind me with a pot noodle, and the day's never going to get any better, is it, Ian? I'm just going to wait for that big black triangle to come and sweep me majestically away, off to the death zone in the Mr. Whippy. But yeah, that is... We're flagging now. That is all we've got time for this time of Type 40 Live. Thanks for joining us. Don't miss the next time. Hit the cloister bell. Get the notices. Bye-bye. Don't say you weren't.
Bye.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. Cheers, everybody.